Hi, welcome back to Wapello County Conservation's educational video series. As you may have noticed, I'm not out in our typical filming area. This is not a prairie. We are out here at one of our marshes, and today I'm going to talk to you about the American lotus. So this plant grows in marshes, in lakes, along riverbeds, on the calm side because it doesn't like fast-moving, turbid water. And one way that you can really recognize this lotus plant, maybe from like your water lily, would be that these big, giant umbrella-like leaves don't have a split down the middle. But American lotuses are in the water lily family, so it's kind of easy to understand why you might get them mixed up. Now, these flowering heads right here will open up early morning, and then they'll continue to stay open until late evening, until they'll close up, and then the next day they'll bloom in the morning again, but they'll only stay blooming for about 3 days. And then in the middle of these blooming flowers is actually the seed receptacle, so that's what holds the American lotus seeds. So when the flower is done blooming, the petals will begin to fall off, and that seed head is actually going to begin to turn brown. It's going to get woody, and the nut-like fruit is going to begin to develop. So once all the petals are fallen off and the seed head has turned brown, the nut-like fruit is all mature. These seed heads will actually fall off, and they'll fall into the water where the receptacle will begin to decay, and the seeds are going to fall out, which will spread the seeds and help the next year's plants grow. However, just because the seeds have fallen into the water doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to go and germinate the next year and grow into American lotus plants. These seeds actually stay viable for a very long time. We've germinated seeds from the American lotus that have been proven to be 1,300 years old. So they can stay viable for an extremely long time, which kind of makes sense because if a seed pod falls down, and let's say it's a really dry year, so it's a terrible year for the American lotus, the marsh dries up, but the seed's going to keep staying down into the ground, and it can stay there for a very long time without germinating. So let's say 50 years from then, a flood comes in and the marsh gets resurrected, then those American lotus seeds could actually begin to germinate and reproduce the American lotus population. One fun thing about the seed heads of the American lotus is once all the seeds are mature, you can actually break these heads off, and the seeds are kind of wiggling around in there, and they actually call it a swamp rattle. So that's another nickname for the American lotus that we've got, because you can kind of hear the seeds rattling in there. One of my favorite things about the American lotus is the giant umbrella-like leaves, and that's because not only are they kind of fun to look at, but they're very water resistant on the top. So if you drop any little bit of water on there, it instantly beads up and almost looks like quicksilver, and it's going to run off the leaf or it's going to run to the middle of the leaf, and they're really just kind of fun to play with. So the reason that they are so water resistant is because they actually have hydrophobic little hairs on the top of the leaf. So hydrophobic means, in easy terms, water hating. So it's water repellent. It's not going to let it soak into the leaf, so the water just beads up and will roll right off. So another really cool thing about these umbrella-like leaves is that they provide a lot of cover and habitat for different wildlife that can be found where the American lotus is growing. So fish will often use these as cover. Frogs, reptiles such as turtles will use them. So they are very helpful to the wildlife in the area. But another way that this plant is pretty useful, so their roots are actually tubers, so they're kind of similar to a potato in a way. So any area that has beavers or muskrats, they will dig up the tuber and they will actually eat it as food. And they're not the only animals that eat the American lotus. We can actually eat different parts of the American lotus. Native Americans would eat these leaves, when they're all curled up. So once the lotus is just starting to grow and the leaves haven't unfurled yet, the Native Americans would kind of cook it and eat it like spinach. We can eat the roots, so the tubers, again, are kind of like potatoes, so if you cook them, you can kind of eat them like a sweet potato. You could even eat them raw. These nut-like fruits are easy and edible to eat. You can pop them out. You can use them as nuts and put them into bread or something like that. So really, this is a cool plant. It has lots of different uses. As always, thank you again for watching our educational video series. And just make sure you get outside and enjoy nature. Come out here to Blue Wing Marsh and see our lotuses blooming here. Go out to a lake and kayak or canoe and go through all the lotuses. Play with the leaves a little bit. The flowers are very fragrant, so maybe you'll get lucky enough to smell some of those too. So as always, get outside, have a good time in nature. Thank you for watching our videos, and catch us next week with our newest video. Have a nice day.
Oh, something just bit me though. 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 Like, no joke.